Do you have a passion project you want to bring to life? Let Jamila Adams at Your Service help you. Jamila Adams at Your Service was created to assist businesswomen 40 plus by bringing their passion project to life through website design and marketing. Visit her website, jamilaadamsatyourservice.com, and register for a free 30-minute consultation. Remember, you have a voice. Use it.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to Listen Up, Listening Podcast. Y'all know what day it is. I know what day it is. It's F-Y-D-A-Y. And you know that spells Sunday. No, I'm just playing. It's Friday, y'all. It's Friday. Yes, indeed. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. All praises to Jehovah God and Jesus Christ every day. Amen. And guess what? Stomp your feet 3 times and clap your hands. You woke up this morning. Absolutely. Yes, you woke up this morning. Yes, indeed. We always got to be happy about that. Anyway, I got a great episode for you guys today and ladies, and it's going to be awesome. I'm telling you, I have a special guest. All my guests are special. Wonderful, great story that's coming your way. Y'all got to stay tuned. Lock them seatbelts in as you're driving, and you'll know why I'm saying this when you hear this episode. Not what you think. Just tune in. I'm not giving no more information. Anyway, if you're not having a good day, woosah, brush it off. This too shall pass, one day at a time. Y'all know the speech. But you got to pay attention to the speech. You got to listen to the speech. Because you got people out there, they smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place. The backstabbers. Backstabbers, y'all know how it is. Anyway, sit back. I don't care who you're with, where you're going, if you're in a truck, if you're in your car on a skateboard or skating down the street. Tune in to Listen Up, Listen In Podcast. Are y'all ready? Come on now. Let's get it.
Tanya, you ready?
Listen up, listen in. 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 Thanks for tuning in. Let's have a conversation. Talking worldwide, it don't matter your location. What you going through and the topic may have relation. Let's get some motivation. Swap out education. Every Friday we heal, laugh, improve, and grow. Put some nutrients in your mind, give you food for the soul. I know you pumped and preparing for your weekend and low. Might as well join the discussion and tune into the show.
Everybody, what's going on? This is Preezy. You know you listening to Listen Up, Listen In Podcast. And I got a special guest with me today. You know how I do, y'all. I always get these special guests now. But let me tell you a little bit about this young lady before she even begins her story. When she was 16 years old, she became displaced, moving 21 times between the ages of 16 to 21. While other teenage girls her age were focused on school, this young lady was focused on survival. She had to figure out a way to not let her circumstances determine how far she could go in life. Her test became her testimony. She had to rely on the generosity of strangers to provide her with gently used clothing, food, and a temporary place to call home while she attended high school. She knew that getting an education would be the key to her success, so she could focus on going to class while working odd jobs to save money. Her personal story is now her passion. From being homeless, getting her education, this woman is a mother, a founder of the non-profit organization called Lost Angels Society, which is providing homeless teens with the basic necessities and hope for the future. She says, never allow your situation to define who you are. They are setbacks preparing you for your comeback. So without further ado, let me introduce you, Miss Sydia Colbert. How you doing, Sydia?
I am well. How are you, Preezy?
I can't complain. I'm so happy that you are a guest on Listen Up, Listen In podcast. And before we even get started, I always ask my special guests, how is your day going today?
My day is well. I am blessed and highly favored. I woke up this morning. Somebody else didn't, so I'm grateful just to be alive.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I done read your bio, and I didn't want to read all of it because it's so much, and it's such an inspiring story. So please let my audience know who Miss Sydia Colbert is.
So first of all, Preezy gave an amazing introduction. When I get on BET, I definitely need you to come do my intro when they call me out on the stage. So thank you so much for that.
That's what I'm talking about, sis. I'm here.
You have the voice, you have the demeanor, you have all of it. That is so cool.
Thank you so much.
So Sydia, who Sydia is? Sydia is now, I wouldn't say a survivor. I would say, because I don't like the word survivor. Yeah. It just makes it seem like you were seeking attention, and it just takes a whole different turn on it, right? But Sydia is now an amazing, thriving woman who went through life, right? And like you said, from 16 to 21, I was homeless. I moved 21 times. I am the oldest of 8, the only one to graduate high school, elementary school, high school, and college. I'm now I have a master's in social work, and I dedicate my time and my life to giving back. Because at 16, when I attempted suicide, I promised God, if you get me to the place where I could give back, that I would, and I would not stop doing it. I would give back until I no longer was able to do so. And that only way that would be is if I was no longer here. And so 11 years ago, I created the Los Angeles Society, which I'm the CEO and founder of, to give young people, whether they were black, white, orange, green, an outlet to plug into. Because even though growing up, I lived in this beautiful house on the corner, 65 Linden Place, and people from the outside would think that household was it was amazing. Now, don't get me wrong, it was. But if the walls could talk, you would know that an 8-year-old girl who should have been playing with dolls, sneaking to play with her dolls at night, or sneaking to get cookies out the cookie jar, what she was doing was trying to figure out a way to get her mom off the floor because she was intoxicated and couldn't get up. So this 8-year-old girl was scared to death that her mom was either dead on the bathroom floor or she was dying. My father worked as a construction worker, and so he was always at work. And so trying to figure out life at 8. So the story really started when I was 8, but I did not develop the tenacity or the ability to tell it until 2011. So at 8, that's what I was doing. So I decided from that I did not want that to be my story. So I grew up, in this beautiful house on 65 Linden Place, where my mom was a chronic alcoholic and my dad didn't approve of it. So when the family would come over, my dad would be upset, and quiet is kept. So was I. I would go in the basement when my father was, lifting weights just to get away from the family, because I didn't want to indulge in that. I didn't want to see that, because I knew that once my family left, then my father had to deal with my mom being intoxicated, and then we also had to deal with it. So I despised them because they didn't understand why they didn't need to come over to engage and to add on to that.
Right.
So that beautiful house that everybody thought that, oh my God, they come from this beautiful house. And we were well mannered. Even though my mom was a chronic alcoholic, every Friday in our household was family game night. So we did little things like play bingo. We did other little things like have family time. We weren't allowed to go out on Sundays, because on Sundays we had a different structure. You washed your clothes and you ironed your clothes and you prepared them for the week.
Right.
So that was what we did. And so I was used to that. But when all of that was done, we had to still deal with my mom being a chronic alcoholic. And because I'm the oldest of eight, I'm the one who remembered everything, and I'm the one who was the second mother. Right. So trying to make sure my youngest sister, who is now 25 or 26, there's so many of us, I can't keep up, that my mom didn't roll over on her on the bed. I would climb 12 steps to get her out the bed with my mom while she was newborn, bring her back downstairs to sleep in my bunk bed, and to make sure that she was okay, so that my mom didn't smug her.
Oh, man.
And so my mom wouldn't even remember what was going on, because she would wake up the next day and she would flip out like, why is she downstairs again? And I would just, there was nothing I could say, nothing I could do.
Right.
So that's just what it was. And we lived in that house until I was 15, almost and a half, turning 16.
Right.
And when I turned 16, instead of having us to be 16, my birthday present was to be displaced. And my dad decided that he could no longer do it, because he waited until the oldest one, which was me, was able to understand why he left. Wow. And why he no longer could deal with my mom. And so he sat us down and he said, Dad can't do this anymore. Dad has to go. And when he left, you would think that my mom sobered up to get enough common sense, but she didn't. She got worse.
Wow.
And she got so worse that, I went from being 8, making sure she got up off the floor in the bathroom, to being 15 and a half, almost 16 years old, to unplugging the radios, cutting the wires, pouring her liquor down, her beer down the toilet or down the drain, breaking up her cigarettes or throwing them in the garbage just so that she could go to sleep, thinking it would make her go to sleep, but in all instilled and made her go get more. And so she got to the point where she was like, if you don't like how I'm living in my household, you have to go. But I had never heard my mom say that before. Right. That was nothing I had heard her say, because I grew up in a 2-parent household my entire life. So that was foreign for me. So then I came home the next day from school, and my stuff was on the steps. And her boyfriend and her sat in the window, because she had got into a new relationship, and they sat in the window, and my mom didn't even look out the window. She looked past me, and he was looking out the window. And I was like, Ma, you really gonna let him tell me I can't come back in? And so from that day forward, I moved 21 times. But my first move was right across the street from my mom, because this was a family of the friend, and I ended up in a relationship with a woman who was old enough to be my mom. Because that was a means of survival. Either I lived there or I didn't know where I was going to live.
Right. Wow. So how long did you live with this young lady?
I lived with her for about 5 years, almost 5 years.
And then you moved on to other places?
Yes. So I moved to other places after that. Yes.
Okay. And so you moving to different places, I'm pretty sure that affected you mentally, right?
Yeah, it damaged me mentally, because I thought that my whole train of thought was that if my mother didn't want me, if my mother could just put me out, then what good was I for anybody else? And it's why I attempted to commit suicide.
Okay. And so when did you said you moved 21 places and that people were helping you. What do you mean by that? People were helping you?
So they helped me because they let me stay there temporarily. But it did more damage than it did good. Why? Because it damaged me until I got old enough to understand why. Even to this day, I don't like spending the night at any people to put me out. It's so detrimental to my past.
Wait, hold on. You broke up a little bit. You said you don't like staying at people's homes?
No, I don't like spending the night at no one's house. If I go to your house, I want to go home, because in my mind, that's giving someone the ability to tell me I have to get out. And I always said to myself, I would never give someone the opportunity to tell me to get out of anywhere. So if it's too late or if it's too far, I typically won't even want to go if I know I can't go back home, because I don't want to stay anywhere but my house.
Wow. Okay, so when did you get help? Like, you moved 21 times, and you said between the ages of 16 to 21. So at 21, did you go into a shelter? What happened, and where did you seek help?
So actually, you're getting the exclusives of the exclusive on this interview. So when I moved, my 21st move was to Atlanta, Georgia, because I decided I no longer wanted to move, and it's crazy because you think the church is supposed to be the place that help you, but I moved 21 times, and I was living with church members who I couldn't work because I was too young, or my father couldn't do anything because he was sleeping in his car because my mom and him was separated, and then my mom just like totally detached herself from me. So when I went with those church people, I couldn't do nothing for them. So when they got tired of me, they just was like, you got to go. They made it uncomfortable and I had to go. So I moved and moved and moved and moved. A good friend of mine that I grew up with in high school, she used to sneak me in her house when her father was at work. And like, I would eat cereal. Like, she would let me wash my underclothes out and I would dry them. I also did that inside of my high school. Also, like, she would give me like her old clothes and things like that. So I moved 21 different places. Like, there were people that I knew, but I moved 21 different places.
So at the schools, did the school ever detect anything of your situation? Did they know what was going on?
So the school figured out what was going on, because I went from going to school every day because my parents were those parents. They were very active. So we got walked to school and picked up every day that we were in school until my father left and my mom broke up. So that was a detection. So I went from coming to school every day until not going to school. And then when I did come to school, all I did was fight. Right. And so I would come to school, have a fight, only to have a fight, and then I would leave school. So one day the teacher said to me, she said, Sydia, why are you not in class? And I just was like, I'm not in class. That's it. And so I had to but that same day I had gotten to something with my mom's boyfriend, because he didn't let me see one of my siblings. He wouldn't let them come outside to see me. So I was actually aggravated and crying. And she said, what's wrong? And then I had to break down and tell her. And so she said to me, the only way that I will not call CPS, because that's what it's called in Long Island, is if you promise to continue to go to school and graduate high school. And so even if I didn't want to go to school anymore, one thing I did not want is my siblings to go in the system, because I knew it was too many of us and they would break us up. So I just went to school. But I ultimately got kicked out of day school and was put into night school because of all the things that was going on in my life. I didn't have enough credits to graduate school during the daytime. So I had to go to night school, to an alternative program, where in my last year of high school, when you should be only getting 3 credits or 4 credits, I was getting 17.
Wow. That must have been hard to leave your brothers and sisters. I mean, because you're not knowing what's going on with them. Were they being taken care of? Or
so they were being taken. It was very hard because I was the oldest and I'm the second mom. So it was the hardest thing I've had. People think being homeless for me was hard, but leaving my siblings was hard, because I felt like I left them to deal with life without me. And I felt like if I couldn't deal with it, then I know they couldn't. But I also, in the midst of me being in my last year of high school, I worked 2 jobs to make sure that they had Christmas, to make sure that they had school supplies. So I was shortchanging myself around the board. But it was one of the most rewarding things that I've done.
Wow, it sounds wonderful that you had the love for your brothers and sisters like that. That was really nice. Did your mom ever get help?
So my mom didn't stop drinking until 3 years ago, when she almost died. She almost died because she had a stroke and she was stressed, and her drinking alcohol had reached its max, because she used to get so intoxicated that she would have many strokes sitting in a chair, and she never knew what was wrong. Her brain would freeze up, and she couldn't remember anything that happened the next day. So it took for her to leave this earth for her to stop drinking, which was 3 years ago, when my mother and I actually developed a relationship. And I am almost 40.
Wow. And how are your brothers and sisters doing?
They are doing, they all have their bumps and bruises, but they're doing well. They're doing okay.
That's good. So tell me, after you started, going to school, you realized that education was very important and you wanted to get yourself out that situation. What happened? When did that start?
So I figured out in my life, when I figured out that I could graduate high school and went through everything that I went through and still graduated high school, I said, there's nothing in the world that I can't do. If I can make it out of my mother's household, be homeless and still graduate high school, there's nothing I can't do. So I always knew in the midst of going through everything I was going through that I was going to be somebody. I just didn't know what I was going to be, who I was going to be, but I knew I was going to be somebody, because I used to say, it's no way in the heck that I'm going through all of this and then life ain't going to happen for me. So I registered. So I moved to Atlanta, and I came for school to go to Gumpton University of Funeral Services to be a mortician, because I used to think I wanted to be a mortician. So when I moved down there to go to school to be a mortician, I realized that this is boring. I don't want to talk to dead people all day. I don't want to do anything with them. The only good thing was that they didn't talk back and they didn't ask to borrow money. So that was good. But outside of that, I was always an outgoing and a people's person. So I said, I need to use my story to figure out what my purpose is in life. And then I met a lady at a restaurant that I used to work at up the creek. And she just was like, you give me social worker vibes. And it hit me. And then I looked up what a social worker actually did. And I realized that that was my calling. And that's what I was running from. So I had to live my story to be able to tell my story, to give it to somebody else. And so I moved back to New York from Atlanta, and I started going to Nassau Community College. And I didn't even take social work. I took criminal justice, child psychology, because I wanted to study the brain of children. And that's what I did. But then when I got into Nassau Community College and started to study the brain of children, I then realized that I was still mentally a child longing for my mother myself. So in order for me to break the dynamics down of that, I had to dig deep into my adulthood, my childhood as an adult. So then I said, you know what? Social work is the best way to do that. So then I realized that I had to go to school for some years to become a social worker. So I did all of that. I did the research for it. And the crazy thing is, even my years of college, my mom didn't want to do my financial aid for me because I can't say she hated me, but I will say she was upset because she felt like I loved my dad more. So she didn't want to sign me up for college. So my dad had to do it. And, he had to use all his money that he had and put me through college because they wouldn't give me financial aid because if he made too much.
Wow. Like that? And I know you said that your father was homeless at one point. How's he doing now?
My dad is doing great. My dad is my best friend. That's my human dictionary, my human diary. That's my world. Like, that's everything.
Wow, that is awesome. That's awesome. So you got your education together and you were able to focus and get things right. Now, you said that you have an organization. Do you tell the young ladies what you went through so that they can have the same hope that you have?
Absolutely. So when I started my organization, let me say this because it's a very important factor of the organization. When I started my organization, it was only for young men, right? Young women, sorry. It was only for young women. And the reason it was only for young women is because I felt like if I can interact with the lives of young women, we could plant the seeds inside of the seed bearers, which are the women. And then if we help to raise better young women to be better adults, then they produce better children. But then I got young men that came to like sessions of mine and they were like, well, there's nothing for young men to do. Like, we want to do something. So I incorporated all of them. And so when I began to tell my story to them, I let them know why I'm doing my organization. And in the beginning, I wasn't transparent because I did not want them to use their stories as crutches to why they could not get out. But I realized that if me not telling my story, I wouldn't reach the multitude. So in my organization, I definitely, wherever I go, I tell my story because my story is my organization. So because it's titled the Lost Angel Society, and I was once a lost angel in this big society, and I felt like I had nowhere to go. So I titled it that.
Now, how did you get started with the organization? Like, you took a course in college and you just decided to do that, or did somebody introduce you to this organization?
No. So I was working at a temporary job. I was working as a security guard. And I used to sit there and I used to say, I have to figure out how to tell my story and put it on a platform where it can reach people. And so I said, I want to have a gala. I never had been to a gala. I didn't know what a gala was. I didn't even know how I knew the word gala. But I thought I wanted to have a gala, and I wanted to tell my story at the gala. And I wanted you from all across the world or whatever to come. And I wanted to tell my story. Rewind to the fact that when I wanted to have the gala, I had no money. I just had moved out the shelter. I moved into my apartment that I recently moved from, and I had nothing because I executed everything that I had to move in this apartment and get furniture. So one day I was walking down the street in the Bronx, and I'm looking, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna have a gala, but I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I stopped in this recreation center for youth, and I told the guy what I wanted to do, and he was like, well, you could do it here for free. And I was like, for free? I said, well, what do you mean for free? Like, it's not gonna cost me anything? And he said, no. He said, your story is so compelling, I have to let you do it here for free. And more reason, because I am a nonprofit and I cannot charge you. So I said, what? I said, all I have in my bank account is $500. I will donate the $500 to your organization so that you could give it to somebody else. So he said, okay, I'll take it. Not knowing he had a whole plan. So now I have this organization, this gala that I'm going to have, and I'm planning. I made the invitations myself. I did everything myself. I didn't know how I was going to get the food for catering. I didn't know how I was going to get speakers or nothing. So I went to he told me to go to this catering hall, and I ended up talking to this woman. She said, I'll cater the whole thing for you for free. I said, for free? She said, yes. I said, okay. So I'm thinking she's going to cater a little bit of food. So I'm being reluctant of who I invite, right? But something told me, invite as many people as you want. Send the invitations out. Tell your friends to send the invitations out. So I did just that. The day of the event, I went across the street to buy balloons for the event, and their machines was broken. When I got after I ordered the balloons and got to the cash register, the lady said, I can't even charge you because our machines are down. We're going to give you everything that you have here on this counter for free. So I broke down crying because I said, it can't be a coincidence. God clearly is telling me that you got to do this, right? So I get to pick up the catering. Now it's a one-man show because I'm doing this all by myself. So I get to pick up the food for the catering, and they made food for 230 people. Not only did they make food for 230 people, they handed me a check, and they told me, Christopher, that's the guy who owned the center. He said, they said, Christopher told us your story, and we want to sow into your vision. So they handed me a check. So I'm standing there, I'm shaking, I'm crying, and the guy's like, why are you crying? I said, you have no idea. So then I get back to the center where the event is going to happen. Now, everybody is starting to come. Now, I'm like, nobody's going to come because it's raining. It's cold. It's raining. It's in the Bronx. I'm from Long Island. I don't know anything about the city. And darn sure don't know anywhere by the Bronx, right? So, when I got to the center, the guy at the center said, you have so many people here. So I said, what? We didn't even set up. I didn't even set up anything. I walked inside. It was completely set up. He had got someone to donate chair covers who ended up giving me the chair covers. And after I told my story to everyone that was there was young people from different shelters. You know, I didn't even get to ask the people how they found out. But what I did get to do was engage with them. And they told me that they heard my story from Christopher. And that's the reason that they came. And so at the end of the night, the same $500 that I gave Christopher, he actually gave me $1,500 in a check. And he said, we're going to sow this into you. And this is for your paperwork to get your nonprofit started. So that's how I started my nonprofit. I used that money. And plus I had to add, I think $1,700 more because I needed to cover the legal fees and everything like that. But that got me started. And so from that, I was secured. And it's been almost 13 years since I've been up and running.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. Congratulations with that.
Thank you.
Wow. Now, let me ask you, when it comes to homeless teens, the ratio, is it more boys than girls or vice versa?
So ironically, there are more homeless boys than there are girls. Wow. And as of 2021, the count is 61,000 homeless youth in New York, period.
Wow. And are there shelters for them?
There are shelters, but the shelters that they have in the cities and in the 5 boroughs, in order for you to get inside of those shelters, you have to go through the system. They don't have, the boroughs outside of New York City don't have walk-in shelters for young people. The only borough that have walk-in shelters for young people is Manhattan. But in order to go to the shelters in Manhattan, you have to be willing to basically, honestly, fight your way through it. They are horrible. I wouldn't sleep a dog in them.
Right, that's what I'm saying, because you always try to wonder why a lot of people don't go to shelters, and some of the stories are that they don't feel safe, they're not clean, You have to worry about people around you and what they may have, whether it be lice or any of the bed bugs and stuff like that. Is that the case also with the shelters for teens?
It is the case. It is.
Wow. And so they rely on the subway or any type of alley or anywhere, parks, to sleep if they don't go to these shelters.
Absolutely. Or abandoned buildings. Or they turn to prostitution and sex trafficking, or drugs, gangs, so that they have an avenue. Because if you don't have family, you create your own. Who cares what the creation looks like? You create your own. You create your own safe haven.
And we know that mental health is a big thing right now. It's heavy all over the world. Do you find yourself dealing with a lot of these homeless teenagers dealing with mental health issues as well?
Yeah, a lot of them do have mental health. And I would say we all, first of all, have some type of level of mental health, right? But when you have young people who are displaced, who have resulted into drugs, prostitution, who have been molested, raped, or what have you, who've been in and out of the system, their mental health is on a different level. Such a different level that it's hard to reach them because they have this wall up that is impossible almost to tear down. And they don't want to talk to anyone who's never been through anything that they've been through, because how do you tell me how to be homeless when you've never experienced? How do you tell me how to not to go to jail if you've never encountered any situation like that? So to chip at that wall, you literally have to be dedicated and devoted to it. And the crazy thing with youth and young people, they can see right through you. So if they know you don't mean them no good, but you're trying to do an interview with them, they won't even open up to you. And I have run into young people who want to tell you their story, but they want to tell you their story and they don't want anyone else to know. So they won't open up to you because they're afraid of you telling someone else.
Right. And that relies on trust. They don't trust people. Right. So, your nonprofit, is it a 24-hour thing that, because I know that you stated that you give the basic necessities of helping the homeless teens, like clean clothes, food, medical care. Do they also get mental health services as well, if needed?
So we are contracted by the city to go into schools and provide sessions for children. But before COVID,
hold on, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was wondering if you was driving through a hurricane.
No, I'm in the car and I don't wear seatbelt, so.
Oh yeah, because I'm hearing this bell. You need to put your seatbelt on. You got an organization. You get ready to have an organization of seatbeltness. Seatbeltness. You need to put your seatbelt on because I'm hearing it.
I'll pass.
Gee whiz. Y'all hear that, right? Anybody that's in her organization getting help, would y'all please, when you see her Monday morning, would you please inform her to start wearing a seatbelt? So I was waiting for the person to say 21st floor or menswear, because I kept hearing bing, bing, bing. But anyway, I know that you provide the necessities. So when you have somebody that has a mental health issue, do you guys help them to seek some type of program or therapy for that?
So I'll do in-person sessions. But if it's something that I can't handle, just because I'm a social worker doesn't mean that I can handle every situation.
Right.
There are people that are very skilled at doing what they do, and mental health is something that I don't play with. So if I can't handle it, I'll source them, and we have a database that we have relationships with. So I have a relationship and partnership with 12 different organizations that if I send them a referral, or have one of my board members send a referral, who's that's their avenue, then they go right to the mental health clinic or to that particular place, and they'll get the services that they need. And then we always redirect them to 311, because you could go call 311 and get anonymous service. So sometimes people with mental health, or whether they have mental health or not, they really don't want anyone who knows them to get what they're going through, because they want to keep it personal. So sometimes we often out-service, but we also let them know that we're 24 hours. And when I mean 24 hours, we have a phone number for the Los Angeles Society that if you go on our website, you will get the phone number, and it'll always direct you to either my assistant, my attorney, or one of my board members that are up and standing, and they will So if you have a fire and you're breaking down mentally, you can call and you'll get directed to where you need to be directed to.
That's great. That's good. And I'm glad that you are doing this, because it's definitely a public awareness, and it's a serious issue with anybody being homeless. But I can't even imagine a teenager being homeless, living on the streets of New York City. So I'm glad you. So what's the future for Los Angeles?
So my ultimate goal, and it's something that I just started writing a new proposal for it, because in the past I had bidded for a building, a 24-hour recreational center, and because when COVID happened, it retracted the funding. So a lot of funders retracted, because now they got to figure out how they're going to run their own business. So it retracted. So I'm actually in the process now of rewriting the proposal, because I'm going to open up a 24-hour recreational center where young people can come and get emergency housing. They can get GED in high school, graduate classes. They can learn the basic needs of life, like how to make a pillow, how to make a mitten, how to crochet, how to sew, how to cook, how to do the basic things in life that young people don't know how to do anything, today because of the phones and such technology. But how to take them back to the basics of life to where they're thriving as adults and they're just not one-sided, that they're well-rounded as adults.
Okay, that's cool. That sounds good. I'm glad that you started this organization, and I'm sure you've been doing it for how long now?
Almost 13 years. November make 13 years.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. Wow. I think I saw you on a video where you were signing a book. Did
yes,
you
I
place
just
your story
recently
in a book? Or?
Yeah, so
You got your window down?
No.
Oh.
You probably just hear, I don't know what you hear. Because I'm driving.
Oh, okay. So your story was in a book as well?
So what happened was I came together. There was a bunch of women who said to me, you always do a lot of inspirational stuff. We would love to do a collaboration with you. How can we do that? And I said, I don't know. Let me get back to you. So I went to my drawing board, because I write. And so I went to my drawing board and I said, how can I collaborate a bunch of people to put together a book, an inspirational book? And so I did. And what we did was it's like a book of poetry and inspirational things for adults and children, right? And teenagers. So we did that. And we did it together as co-writers. And so I wrote a letter in the book. My letter is titled Dear Young People, because that's what my organization is based for, young people. And so we have people in there that's different authors from across the world. Like the father that's in there is a lady from England. And she wrote a letter in there for domestic violence people. So it's a book that is actually will capture everyone. So if you're reading it and you think, oh, it's not for me, trust me, it's for you. You'll find yourself somewhere in the book. Mm-hmm.
Now you have a quote saying, "Never allow your situation to define who you are. They are setbacks preparing you for your comeback." Explain that to me real quick.
So in a short version, I don't like one who continues to talk about the same story, right? I don't like pity parties, because if you could talk about the problem 10 times, you can find a solution in that same conversation of that problem that you keep revisiting more times than you can find the problem. And so if you allow what you've been through in life or what you're going through in life to define you, then you truly don't have a definition at all. And so my thing is, don't allow it to define you. Use it as a tool, as a mechanism to develop who you are, to find out who you are and what you want, and take that as a niche to say, you know what, I found, even if you haven't, just sometimes telling yourself, I found out who I am, will allow you to one day believe and really figure out who you are. So to take what you've been through in life or what you're going through in life and use it as the stepping stool to get to where you are, not to look for a pity party and say, woe is me, because if you look to the left or to the right of you, there's somebody on the side of you that's going through worse things than you have, or who have been through worse than you have. And the reason they got to where they are in life today is because they didn't allow their situation or their story to define who they are. They defined who they are by coming out of it.
All right, leave me with one quote that you would tell somebody or anybody that's out here that's homeless. If they listening, what would you tell them?
I would tell them one of my favorite quotes that I say is, "I'm so glad I don't look like what I've been through." So taking that is something I would say. That's what I would leave. Don't look like what you've been through in life, and no matter what you're going through in life, don't give up. Don't worry about what the naysayers are saying. Don't worry about what people are thinking. Don't look at what you see in the physical. Take life and live it, because there is life, there is purpose in why you are here. And if you did not have purpose, you would not still be here.
Excellent. And for all those that are homeless, sending prayers to y'all. And for the homeless teens, how can we find Los Angeles? How can someone get in contact with you if they have a situation and they need help? Where can we find you?
So you can actually find us by going on our website. It is www.losangelsociety.org. You can go on our Instagram page, which is TLAS 2011, or you can go on our Facebook page, which is the Los Angeles Society 2011. And you'll find the business number there. You'll find contact information here for my board members. You will be able to, contact us. You can also email us at thelosangelessociety@gmail.com.
I'm happy that although it was a long time, a separation with you and your mom, I'm glad that you guys are doing better.
Yeah, me too.
And I know,
it was one of my biggest accomplishments.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that your beautiful daughter is so happy to have a mom that's helping others in the world.
She is. Everything I did with my organization, I took her before she got older, and now she got to make time for me. But as she was growing up, she did everything. She did everything with me with my organization. She was there from day one, like having my house filled up with book bags and donations, so where she couldn't walk or she couldn't play, because that was my space and where I used to create my vision.
Awesome. Well, Miss Colbert, I want to thank you so much for being a guest on my show, and you're welcome to come again if you have any other inspiring stories or anything else with your organization that you would like to put out there. I'm more than welcome to have it on Listen Up, Listen In podcast.
Thank you so much, and I am so forever grateful and humbled to be on the show again. When I get to BET, I'm going to come find you, because you have to do my announcement, because that introduction was amazing.
Absolutely. I have no problem with that. And I want to thank everybody out there that was tuning in to Listen Up, Listen In podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. Matter of fact, I know you enjoyed this episode. And as I always say, live, laugh, love yourself first, because you can't love anyone or anything unless you love yourself first. Keep God first in your life. Stay healthy, stay focused, and love and squeeze your family and your pets, because they're family too, just a little bit tighter. Love you, mommy and daddy, forever. Peace. Thank you, Miss Sydia. I appreciate you so much.
You're welcome, and I will talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yay! Oh, thank you.
That concludes this episode of Listen Up, Listen In with your host, Preezy. Hey, yo, Preezy, tell them how to keep in touch, baby.
Go to Instagram, Listen Up, Listen In 5687, and on Facebook, Listen Up, Listen In. You can also email me on listenuplistenin5687@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, by following me on social media, you'll be able to see all the platforms my podcast is on. Wherever you consume my podcast, hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when a new episode is posted. Rate, review, and share this podcast.
Listen up, listen in. Listen up, listen in. Yeah.